Hello everybody and welcome to another unboxing video where we are currently looking at the Maria Hill and Nick Fury packs, and we had everything put together here. So we have Maria Hill, we have Nick Fury, and I tried to do a live stream and the camera was not focusing, and then I tried to do everything through OBS and it was not working there either. It's time to talk about Maria Hill, and this is going to be one big giant video where we'll be talking about Maria Hill, Nick Fury. I'm aware of these cards, I've seen them in previews, but honestly I'll say that I didn't really internalize them, and I haven't played with these cards either. As you can kind of see with the Nick Fury pack, it's still in the packaging. I definitely can read through cards and say I am positive or negative about them when it's time for preview season, but when it actually comes time to really evaluate the cards, I will freely admit that I am somebody that kind of needs to play with cards to really sort of get the best understanding of them. And thus far, all I've really looked at is the actual Maria Hill Alter Ego and Hero card, but let's look at those real quick. So right off the bat, we've got Maria Hill. She's a 3 recovery alter ego with the shield and spy trait. You may include the maximum number of copies of 3 shield supports in your deck from the aspects other than your chosen aspect. And additionally, she has the action of exhaust Maria Hill, search your deck for a shield support and add it to your hand. My understanding of this, and even I think the understanding that was kind of spelled out when we originally saw this card, was that the maximum number you are required, if you choose to, let's say I'm in Justice and I want to put in a shield support that is from leadership, you need to include all the maximum number of copies, and you can do that with 3 different supports. It's a weird sentence, and when I look at it over and over again, I find myself, especially during preview season, going, what does this mean? And my understanding of this, after reviewing it and kind of looking how the community wrapped their mind around it, and I think probably did like some FAQ kind of stuff. Actually, let's even look at that. Aspect. Okay, so in the FAQ, it doesn't come up. The only one, so and this is all getting out of hand here, but basically to sum up, if you choose to have a support that is shield traded outside of the trait that you pick, so in the example I gave, we're talking about Justice. You decide to have a leadership support, or like the attack team from aggression, you need to have the maximum number. You can't sort of pick and choose. You are basically going to be filling your deck with, I don't think there are any shield aspect cards, shield support cards that limit you, and I could be very wrong on that. So let's just say that 9 of your cards, 3, 6, or 9 of your cards in your deck are going to be out of aspect, and they're going to be copies of the same cards. And that's really what all this means. It's just like you choose the attack team, you got to have 3 copies of attack team if they're out of aspect. If you want to have, I don't know if the shield, the protection card that stops the damage and pings it back at the enemy, I think that is, or the surveillance team. I'm thinking about it. Okay, so like surveillance team, not a support, but that's the card I was thinking of for a second there. So okay, so surveillance team, if you chose to have surveillance team, you need to have 3 copies of it. So diluting your deck in that way, but with cards that you definitely want, because shield's a very strong what's the word? I guess trait. Shield's a very strong trait. So being able to diversify and then search them out, all the better, is really cool. But at the same time, when we get over to Maria Hill, the hero, we've got a 2 thwart, 1 attack, 2 defense, shield hero with the shield and spy traits. She has 9 hit points and 5 hand size on this side, and 6 on this side. But she gives all the allies that you control the shield trait, just like Star-Lord, and she has the reassignment ability which is an action. Move one all-purpose counter from a shield support to another shield support once per round. So the nice thing about this is that you can basically set up, you can take a shield support, give it a counter, and then later on you can always move that counter to a card you will play later. That's nice. My apprehension with Maria Hill was this just sounds like a lot of bookkeeping, and I'm just too old for bookkeeping at this point. I may end up loving Maria Hill, and if possible, I will certainly try to do I want to do a live stream where I play against each one of the scenarios. With my luck, that was really ambitious, because now with my luck, I'm beginning to question if that's even possible. But maybe I'll just do unedited long-form playthroughs of all that stuff. I'm not sure, but we'll get there. It's possible that when I play with Maria Hill, I will say this is actually a hero that I like more. Maybe when we look through Nick Fury, we'll say the same thing. I'll look through and go, oh man, like Nick Fury is the bomb. I don't know why I even questioned that I was not going to love him. But either way, let's get into the other cards, because we're going into this, and I'm kind of so-so. But we'll see how Maria Hill fares. So you've got her ally, which is Nick Fury, her signature ally. 4 cost, 2 thwart, 2 attack, shield traded with 3 hit points. And the response, which is on both of his basic powers. After Nick Fury uses a basic power, place 1 all-purpose counter on a shield support. So that's just another way for you to get a all-purpose counter. That's really cool, especially because the shield supports generally have differing counters that are supposed to be on them. Like Surveillance Team needs Snoop counters, and the other one that was clearly the way that I organize my cards is not. There we go. Okay, so Surveillance Team has Snoop counters, whereas Attack Team has attack counters. And because of that, that's why they had to do the all-purpose stuff, because you couldn't just say use whatever counter. Shield did not have the foresight or the future-proofing to just have the same kind of counters on them, use counters or whatever. They wanted to go for something more thematic. I don't blame them, but yeah, that's kind of the purposes. Once you have these out, then Nick Fury is going to be able to. Nick Fury is going to be able to just use a power, get a counter on it. It's all good. I think being able to be more generic like that and have the all-purpose is powerful, because it allows you to go beyond this. Like I haven't played a lot with this character, but there's a character in Arkham Horror. I'm trying to think when she would have been from. I think she's from the 3rd wave, the Path to Carcosa. She's a mystic, and basically when something comes into play with uses, it has an additional uses counter. So, which should be familiar. We have this, we have uses. Once they go away, or once you use up all the counters, they go away. Kind of the same thing in Arkham. And this is just sort of a more roundabout way to give Shield that ability, as opposed to mystics. And yeah, overall, this is like a cool card. I don't know that I've seen this card. I think maybe I knew that was her signature ally, and I bet I'm going to look into Nick Fury's pack, and we'll see that she is the signature ally for him, which I'm kind of so on, because you're going to play these decks with each other, and it's a little unfortunate that the signature allies are essentially going to be glorified wild resources. Then we've got. Oh, you know what? And there is one other thing I know about this. I know that Maria Hill does not come with any attack events or thwart events, so it's all going to be shield support style stuff. So All Points Bulletin, a 2-cost event. It is a tactic trait card with hero action. For each shield support you control, choose to either remove 1 threat from a scheme. So this is no. You're not going to be affected by confuse and stun, which I think is the important part here, or deal 1 damage to an enemy. For each support you control. So does that mean I don't want, and of course it's a fresh and new card, so I don't want to lead anybody astray. Oh, how does for each work in Marvel Champions? I want to say that this means that you're going to be able to go, okay, I've got this support, so I've got Surveillance Team, I'm going to remove a counter, I've got Attack Team, I'm going to deal damage. Let me just make sure that is the current way that is supposed to work. I have the rules downloaded onto my phone, so let's just look at that. Huh. Okay, each is not, for each is not effectively called out. So I won't get us too derailed here. My reading of this card, and if I happen to find something that contradicts this by the time I put this up, I will put a little alert on here, but my reading of this card would say that means that as you go and say, I have this shield support, I'm going to choose to remove 1 threat. I have this shield support, I'm going to deal 1 damage. Or I've got 3 shield supports, I'm going to do 1, 1, and 1. I'm going to do 2 and 1. Either way, the way that I'm reading this card at this moment is that it's going to be instances of 1 threat, 1 threat, 1 threat, 1 damage, 1 damage, 1 damage. I could be wrong about that. Like I said, this is, opening day of the pack. Don't have a lot of other information to go off of. We got 2 copies of an event called On the Double. 0 cost event. Action, ready any number of shield supports with a combined printed cost of 6 or less. So that's going to be handy because, the examples we keep going back to, we've got surveillance and tack team. You're going to be able to ready up both of these. You're going to be able to deal damage. You're going to be able to remove a threat. I think that just in terms of as an event, especially for 0, I don't even know that 0 seems appropriately costed. I suppose the cost of the event doesn't matter because you're readying up some supports, and I don't believe there's supports that are going to cause you to have to spend resources to use them, but I'm probably wrong, and there's probably a shield resource or a shield support that matches that. Either way, I know that Maria Hill has some expensive supports, so this could come down to you're readying up 1 support. Either way, I'm excited to see what this will do because I want Maria Hill to win me over. And we've got 3 copies of Reinforcements. It is a 1 cost event. Choose any number of shield supports with a combined printed cost of 6 or less. Place 1 all-purpose counter on each of those supports. So once again, just opening that up, you get to look at it and go, okay, I'm going to get this is why, what's her name? The Justice ally that adds counters that was out of Sinister Motives, and I'm completely blanking on her name either way. But this is why being able to add additional counters to things is so powerful. You take something like Surveillance Team and bump it up from 3 uses to 4. This allows you to on the fly add even more. And once again, because we were talking about Maria Hill earlier and her hero ability where she can take an all-purpose counter, this allows you to, with this card, spread everything out and then go Maria Hill is going to, she doesn't even exhaust for that. So she's just going to move. You could put stuff onto 3 different supports, move one of those counters over to something else, and suddenly one of those bumped up by 2 and the other one bumped up by 1. Either way, this is a cool card. I think this is interesting. This allows you to do, more and more fun things with shield supports. And I'll even say that I think that supports are just kind of an underserved card type. There's probably people that will say that they've got plenty of support. I feel like I don't really think about shield. I don't feel like I think about supports much, and so the ability to kind of do something expansive is kind of fun. We've got the Hard Call, a 2-cost event, hero action, discard a shield support you control. Oh, okay. Deal X damage to each enemy where X is the printed cost of the discarded support. Let me just make sure that I am following this correctly. So it's a shield support you control. Okay, so I read this as, we're going to keep going back to our examples. Got Surveillance Team. You discard Surveillance Team. You deal 2 damage. Wanted to make sure that wasn't, I've got Surveillance Team in my hand. I discard it. But no, that makes sense. Okay, so because you control. So obviously, like I said, there are going to be supports that I imagine we're going to find in her kit, and they're probably going to find in her Justice pre-made deck that mean that this is to pay 2 to deal 6, or deal 3, deal 4, whatever. Especially because you're getting more uses out of them when you finally get down to the last counter for something and you just use this to deal some damage. You don't feel like you're getting cheated out of an activation because you already probably got more activations on something than you had before. Let me keep reminding myself of what her. Okay, so I'm sorry, I'm just looking here. Okay, so her hero alter ego card itself does not just add all-purpose counters. It's other cards in the deck, that's probably balanced for power level reasons, but yeah, I think that it overall just the ability to say, hey, I've gotten 5 uses out of this, and now I'm just going to deal some damage. 2 might be a little expensive, but then of course, like I said, we're going to get into more expensive supports. The 4 is normally like the cap for supports, like, not the same because it's not a shield support, but just taking Avengers Mansion as an example, that costs 4. And if you could sacrifice it to deal 4 damage, or I guess discard it. Gotta remember my terminology. I've been watching a lot of Magic content recently, so sacrifice is on the brain. But, do that. All to say, I think this is a cool card, and I'm excited to see what it can do. Then we've got 2 copies of Special Funding, a resource. With the responsibility on you get mental and physical, and the response of after you spend this card to pay for a shield support, place 1 all-purpose counter on that support after it enters play. So I'm trying to think about where this ties in. Obviously there's hero resources that exist in kits. I just can't think of one like this that really kind of takes. They all play off what the hero's trying to do. I just can't think of one where. Oh, okay. I was thinking of Ironheart, where she adds another of the counters you're looking for there, and that's kind of the closest thing I can think to that's kind of similar to this. Obviously, this is a double resource. Double resources are good, and yeah, I can see how, like, overall, like, we've got 2, 3. So far, we've got 3 cards in her pack that add these all-purpose counters, so I think that it's going to be pretty reliable, and that's exciting. Then we've got Support Staff, a 1-cost support, Persona, Shield, 3 uses for staff counters, and Resource, Exhaust, Support Staff, and remove 1 staff counter. Generate a wild resource for a player whose identity has the Shield trait. Okay, that's cool. So if you are playing with Nick Fury, obviously, you can help him out. I believe that Natasha, she has the Shield trait, and there might be one other hero that I'm just not thinking of that kind of like has Shield as kind of it was kind of trinket text at the time, but it's now going to mean something, and I'm just drawing a blank. Clint Barton might have the Shield trait. That might be too MCU adjacent, but either way, I think this is cool. Overall, even if it's just Maria Hill being able to get those extra resources to be able to play. And the thing is, you're not using this specifically for a shield traded thing, you're giving it to a shield traded identity. So this does allow you to it helps to pay for what I know are inevitably the expensive cards. But overall, yeah, just cool. Mostly 1 copy. So yeah, and it only has 3 uses. This is probably an okay card. It's probably a 6 or 7 out of 10, and I kind of am lukewarm on it as kind of a 4 or 5 out of 10 right now. I think the uses cap is not it's deceptive, because I think that if you really thought about how often you use cards like this, resource outlets like this, you only get 3 or 4 uses out of it. Now, if you're playing a longer game, that probably extends out a little bit, but to be fair, I bet this probably is this costs 1. I bet this is still just as, you're going to get just as many wild resources out of this as you might a Quinn Carrier. I bet if you really stopped and thought about it. And I'm just underselling this card, but I'm not sold on this particular card yet. Then we've got the Iliad. 6-cost support, knew it was coming. Shield and vehicle traded with 3 mission counters. Action, exhaust the Iliad and remove 1 mission counter from it. Choose to either deal 5 damage to an enemy, remove 4 threat from a scheme, or heal 3 damage from an identity. Yeah, this seems good. I was going to say, okay, this actually takes me back. I was going to say I wish I got more uses out of it, which kind of brings me back to support staff and how I feel like the uses are kind of low. But you're in a hero that really cares about uses. So both of these read kind of like, this feels powerful. This kind of reads a little subpar, but I kind of forgot that I keep forgetting that Maria Hill is really going to be able to soup up what you're capable of doing. So this is probably even better. I thought that, like, I'm thinking of this as a 7 or 8 out of 10, and this is probably actually a 9 or 10 out of 10 kind of card. It seems really good. It seems like Venom's minigun. If I'm remembering that correctly, whatever the gun that he has that can do like 3 different things. This seems like her equivalent of that. Obviously, it might not be necessarily as easy to get out, but this seems really good. It seems very all-purpose to kind of stay on theme. And we've got life model decoy, which I'm actually a little surprised this is showing up in her pack. This is when I think life model decoy, I think of Nick Fury. But it's an upgrade. It's a preparation, all the better. It is tech, and it is has interruptibility of when an enemy attacks you, discard life model decoy, prevent all that damage from that attack. This is exactly what I would think this card does. It is just a way to fake out the villain or an enemy and just survive. And she's got 9 hit points, so actually this seems like a very appropriate card for her. Like, she's not that chunky. She's got a pretty low health pool, and she only recovers 3, right? Yeah, she only recovers 3. So yeah, this is the kind of thing I would expect from a shield agent. I like that it's preparation. I like that it's tech that really opens you up. Don't know that anyone other than Black Widow necessarily cares about preparations, but just in general, I suppose like what's his name, Coulson. If you jump over to Justice is gonna like this card. So yeah, either way, love this card. Very cool and just on theme with what it's supposed to do. And the last card from her kit is Shield Director, which really answers the question of what kind of canon are we currently in, because she has had times when she is the director of S.H.I.E.L.D., other times that is someone like Nick Fury, but she has the S.H.I.E.L.D. Director. The upgrade is a title, and the action of exhaust S.H.I.E.L.D. Director, place one all-purpose counter on a S.H.I.E.L.D. support. Repeatable ability to do that is great. That's going to take something like the Iliad and just, yeah, that's like I said before, Iliad is probably a 9 or 10 out of 10 card, and I already think highly of it. Like, cards like this are what's going to make the Iliad even better. I will say, having gone through her kit, I am sort of left with a little bit of feeling of, I think she's cool, but I don't know that she's my gameplay. And as we've learned from other videos that I've done where I talk about my least favorite heroes, every hero is somebody's favorite. This is probably going to be someone's favorite hero. And for me, it might be middle of the road. I might enjoy it. It might be the kind of thing that I can definitely latch onto it. But this just feels like a lot of accounting that I'm just not really for. But let's get into her aspect cards, because I know she comes with a leadership deck. And let's hop into that. Victoria Hand, which she is a piece of work, but she is a 3-cost ally with 2 thwart, 1 attack, 2 health, shield traded, response after Victoria Hand enters play, ready a shield support. You know what? I could go for being 1 cheaper. I think you could say about a lot of cards, but in terms of, let me just remind myself, the Iliad is like the one I think of the most. You exhaust the Iliad. Okay, so yeah, I think just in general, especially because you can go cross aspect, this is a fine card. I think it's the kind of thing that you want to recur. So her 2 health is not a problem. And yeah, overall, I'd say not the best card in the world, but I think that it works for, it's going to be a helpful role player in what we're doing in this deck. We got Slingshot. Happy to see her. She is part of the Secret Warriors. She is a 3-cost ally, 2 thwart, 2 attack, 3 hit points with the shield and spy traits, and an action of spend a energy resource, put Slingshot into play from your hand under any player's control. Okay, I don't know that I knew that part. At the end of the phase, if Slingshot is still in play, return her to your hand. That seems good. If you have a way to ready her back up so you're able to get 2 thwarts or 2 attacks out of this, that's great. Yeah, I feel like she's the kind of card that I want to keep in my hand. Just use like the support staff to just wild resource her into play. Do something. Maybe use one of your, what's that card? The card called? It's in the core set. It just readies up an ally. Get 2 uses out of it. I mean, I could see a world where basically you are spending 3 resources every turn to do stuff with her or I guess using 3 cards. So a wild resource and then a card to pay for a 1-cost event. Or that one, what is it? Get ready, I think is what it's called. That one might be a 0. So, but either way, you might be playing with her a lot. Trixie, playing her out of hand. Reminds me of the signature ally Colossus, just being able to play out of hand. But yeah, this is a cool card. I don't know that I knew that it was under any player's control. That is helpful. Especially, I don't foresee Maria Hill being somebody that's going to cap off the allies. This is a leadership deck. But either way, yeah, just being able to send that anywhere. There's a part of me that, because I'm going to Con of Heroes 2025, so it'd be funny if you slingshot this into somebody else's game across the table. Like you send it to another table. That'd be pretty fun. Don't think you can do that though. They might allow it. Then we've got three copies of Organizational Support. It is a resource with an interrupt. When you spend this card, exhaust up to 3 allies and or support you control that share a trait with your identity. Generate the printed resources on each of those exhausted cards this way. When you spend this card, okay, so this could effectively generate 4 resources, and not all mental resources. Like this could go, this could get you quite a few, just your entire array of things. And you know what I like about this? It's not linked solely to shield. It is, if I'm like, if you're playing an Avenger deck, or you're playing Thor, you're playing an Asgard deck. Not the best example, but either way, like you can, I guess you can use Asgard as a support to generate some resources. But either way, like you can take advantage of it no matter what trait you're locked into. This can help, and I think that's really cool. Yeah, this is interesting design space for a resource because we don't see quadruple resources, and this has that upper limit. We've got 3 copies of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., although I imagine that we can only use 1. Play under any player's control, max 1 team per player. Got 3 copies of that. It is a 3-cost support with the team trait. If each of your characters has the shield trait, this card gains interrupt when you reveal an encounter card. Exhaust this card, cancel the effects of that card, and discard it. Then reveal another card from the encounter deck. So Maria Hill is going to be able to make it so that all of your allies have the shield trait. That's going to be great. And she obviously has shield trait at all times. She has spy at all times. Yeah, this is, I think, is going to be very similar to through the same window as someone like Star-Lord. I think that's going to tell you where the power is going to lie. And her being able to just make everything shield means that this is going to be very fun for her. And in other decks where you're playing with Nick Fury in leadership, it's going to be less consistent, but still powerful. Being able to just say no to the encounter deck is great. So yeah, I like this overall. Okay, yep. I wrote an article where I mentioned this, and I think I might have edited it out, or I might have looked the fool. We've got 3 copies of a reprinted Command Team. Just as a reminder, it is a 2-cost support with the shield trait. It has 3 uses for command counters, and with the action of exhaust command team and remove 1 command counter from it, ready an ally. So that's going to help with yo-yo or slingshot. Put slingshot into play, ready an ally. And it does need to be an ally you control, so you could give it to another player, ready that ally from across the table. That's pretty cool. But yeah, this is a good reprint. We've had it before. Happy to have more of them. Don't normally play with two leadership players at the same time, but this is just nice because you can have a deck ready in case you need to play with one group and then I don't have to move it over to another group's stuff. And look at how many more cards we have. Oh, okay. Yeah, I think I knew that. Okay. So we've got the shield supports that all cost 6. Let's get into them. So we've got the Circe. Yeah, the Circe. 3 cost support. Oops. It is a shield vehicle with 2 deploy counter uses. Action, exhaust the Circe, remove 1 deploy counter from it, and choose a player. That player puts an ally into play from their hand. Very cool. Definitely want to get use out of it. Certainly can see paying for a 6 cost support as being a lot. And I'm trying to actually, to my surprise, Maria doesn't have a lot of resource generators. And looking at the cards, other than like the double resources, so double resources are probably going to be very important to Maria, because playing a card like this is going to take up an entire turn, and it pays off. It definitely is the kind of card that you're willing to spend an entire turn on. Yeah, overall, just cool. The Paracels, yeah, I'm not going to be able to pronounce any of these correctly. 6 cost support, shield vehicle again, 2 supply counters. Definitely getting use out of all-purpose. So exhaust, the action, exhaust the Paracels. Exhaust this card and remove 1 supply counter from it. Give a hero or villain a status counter of your choice. Give an ally or minion a status counter of your choice. I like that. So you can give out tough statuses, you can give out stuns or confused. Yeah, this is unique and definitely one that I will want to get supply counters onto, because I do not want to get only 2 uses out of this, but this is the kind of card that I really feel like I would have wanted. Like, I can think of games that I played recently where it would have been really nice to be able to put out any kind of status counter, and now we have the way to do that. The Douglas, 6 cost. I can't even a regular-ish word. I can't even do it right the first time. 6 cost support. Shield vehicle traded, 3 operational counters for uses. Exhaust the Douglas and remove 1 operation counter from it. Remove 2 threat from each scheme and ignore any crisis icons in play. Yeah, that seems good. I feel like this is a good card, but I feel like the version of the game where you have 3 or more schemes in play is kind of either things have gone really awry and this card's going to be your savior, or those situations don't exist. Except for Kang. I just put out a video last night or yesterday about Kang, and Kang definitely has situations where you can have a lot of them. So yeah, there's probably uses for this, but I feel like for the most part you're judging this in a situation where you're going to be removing 2, maybe 4 threat, and how good is that? And it's probably great. This is probably a card that I'm maybe underselling a little bit, but I do like it. It definitely seems powerful. The realistic part of my brain says this is not going to be removing 8 threat from the board on a regular basis. Nope. So 6 cost support. You can read it for yourself. It's a shield vehicle. Uses 3 uses with the missile counters. And exhaust this card, remove 1 missile counter from it, and choose a player. Deal 3 damage to the villain and each minion engaged with that player. Discard all tough status counters from those enemies first. So yeah, this is going to nuke the board somewhere. And, this is a lot of work to try to be Thor and just deal 3 damage with a lightning strike. So yeah, I guess other heroes get to catch up with Thor here. Cool card. Maybe my favorite out of the I liked putting down allies. This, I think, just for like raw power. This seems much more realistic that it's going to be doing multiples of 3, like 12, 15 damage, as opposed to removing a whole bunch of threat. This seems like it's going to be dealing a lot of damage because it's a lot easier to fill a board up. I'm thinking of the Vision deck that I've seen kind of floating around where you just take on all of the minions and they just can't deal damage to you, and then all of a sudden you just drop this down and just take out the entire board. And yeah, in tandem with Hall of Heroes, this could get you a lot of minions just defeated and make it so that you can definitely use Hall of Heroes a few times. Cool card. Got a reprint of Dum Dum Dugan. Finally, this is gonna be like a golden era for Dum Dum Dugan. He was okay in Sinister Motives, but I think he just did not have the support he needed. So he is a 5-cost ally with 3 thwart, 3 attack, and quite a bit of consequential damage, and 5 health, shield traded, with the interrupt of when you use one of Dum Dum Dugan's basic powers, exhaust up to 3 shield cards you control. For each card exhausted this way, Dum Dum Dugan gets +1 for that power for this use. This is very good. I'm always happy to have Dum Dum Dugan. Up till this point, I feel like you were being very selective with how you use his powers because you needed to really feel like you were getting the most use out of that. But I think in a world that we're moving into where Shield's going to have its time to shine, he is going to be just great. And actually, let me just see here. Yeah, I don't see any copies of Government Liaison. Maybe they're going to be in the Nick Fury deck. We're not seeing a reprint of that just quite yet, but Dum Dum is... I like him a lot. Got Grant Ward, a 0-cost ally, so that means something's going to be up. And if I remember correctly, that he is a traitor. He's got 2 attack, 2 thwart, 2 attack, 3 health, shield spy. Grant Ward can't defend. Seems about right. Force response. When you would reveal a treachery, you may spend a mental resource. If you do not, take damage equal to Grant Ward's attack and remove Grant Ward from the game. Yeah, this all seems thematic. He is kind of a turncoat. But if you can basically leverage him and avoid treacheries and just let him do 2, 2, and 2 in some form, get 3 uses out of him. And yeah, I feel like I could get some use out of him. And he's not trait locked, so you can put him in any deck. Not the best card we've seen today, I don't think, but I think that he is definitely a card that I could leverage to do my bidding. We've got Melinda May, a 4-cost ally with 2 thwart, 2 attack, 3 health, shield spy again, and the response after Maria May uses a basic power, look at the top card in the encounter deck, you may discard that card. Huh. I like it. It's basic, but yeah, I like it. Not much more to say. Once again, not trait locked. It's basic. Could go into anything. Yeah, I think this outside of a shield deck is probably where it would shine even more. Just being able to mess with the encounter deck and say, hey, something good's coming up, something that we don't care about's coming up, or oh, that's something I don't want to see. Just send it off. And basically evaluate in the moment, like, is this more problematic than something else? Like, is this the worst possible card? Let's put it to the side. I don't want those boost icons. Also helpful with a card like Gambit. If you know what the top card is, you can say, oh, that's got 3 of the boost icons on it. Let me do a basic attack, look at the card, play out Gambit, steal that, give him some healthy attack and thwart. Yeah, this seems like I said, outside of Shield, outside of this deck, I can see this being very good in a couple different aspects. Got 2 copies of Super Spies, or sorry, not 2. I'm almost certain there's another copy in Nick Fury's deck. Got a copy of Super Spies for this deck. It is a team-up card. It's a 0-cost event for the Maria and Nick Fury decks, max 1 per deck. And hero action, place a total of 3 all-purpose counters and or threat tokens on shield supports and or suit form upgrades. Don't know for sure, but if Reddit is to be believed, this is a very good card that you should definitely not underestimate. And I can see how that's very possible. obviously there's the cost of having to have Nick Fury in play, but if you can put 3 all-purpose counters onto things, I can see that being very powerful. Yeah, I think this is probably a good card, and I think the fact that your ally, your signature ally, is Nick Fury makes it all the better. All right, and this threw me off for a second, but I remember that this was a thing. We are getting unique art for the double resource stuff, so just strength, genius, energy. I like it. I like Quake. Got Deathlock here, and Boomerang, and then whoever these other characters are. Like I recognize her from the Shield show, but don't remember her name. I think we're going to get to that in a second. And last but not least, we've got 3 copies of Front Organization. 0 cost support, location, max 1 per player, and play under any player's control. Interrupt when an encounter card would discard a card you control, discard Front Organization instead of discarding that card. This seems like a really good card, especially when you have to discard something that would cause you to discard. Yeah, so if it would cause you to discard an ally, which is maybe a card that doesn't exist, but if it were to cause you to discard the most expensive upgrade or support, you just give it Front Organization. Yeah, this is kind of a corner case, and that might be scenario by scenario, but I could see this being a very good thing to just kind of like have around. I would entertain the idea of playing 3 copies. Maybe 2 copies would be more appropriate, but I would entertain the idea of playing more than one of these so that you have it out, you have a defense against something, you lose it, then you put another one down. Not the best card, but still cool. I think I think it will find its niche uses. So we've got her obligation, which is press conference. It is an obligation. Like I said, give it to the Maria Hill player. Force response. After the player phase ends, remove 1 all-purpose counter from each support you control. And an alter ego action of exhaust your identity, discard this card. So this is never going to necessarily go away. You could see this 2 or 3 times in a game. I think that's pushing it a little bit. I think maybe you might see this once, and then you might get a boost. This might be a boost card later. You know what? I'm not too worried about it. Hefty tax, but I think that getting to Alter Ego, she reads like a character that probably doesn't mind going to Alter Ego on a pretty regular basis. I'm trying to think here, because the kind of cards she's got... Oh, sorry, not here. Here. Action, hero action. Yeah, she is not that hero focused where she has a whole bunch of hero action cards. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say I feel like she's a character that does not care about going to Alter Ego. Like, that's not much of a hamper to her, so this probably is reasonably easy to get rid of. You might lose a couple, you might lose 1 round of all-purpose counters, but I guess that's just a reason to use up all-purpose counters before you use up the card-specific ones. But, that's also something to consider. All right, and got the Nemesis minion and the side scheme. Got the controller, 2 minion with 2 scheme, 1 attack. Elite Psionic with 6 health. That seems a little hefty. She only attacks for 3. I mean, I guess you could throw an Iliad at her. You could throw an Iliad at him. Elite Psionic. Force response. After the controller activates against you, remove 1 all-purpose counter from a support. If Controlled Innocence, which we'll get to in a second, is in play, put the top card of your deck into play face down, engage with you as a controlled minion. So, okay, I see. Where do we define that? Okay, so then we've got the side scheme. When revealed, find the controlled innocence environment and put it into play. When defeated, discard each controlled minion. Place 1 all-purpose counter onto a support for each Place one all-purpose counter onto a support for each minion discarded this way. So you do want to keep these controlled minions around, because when you get rid of this, it's going to help you there. Okay, so in the environment is this controlled innocence. Environment: each face-down controlled minion engaged with a player has a base scheme of 1, a base attack of 1, and a base hit points of 1. So it's basically the same as a drone. Force response: after a controlled minion is defeated, place that card in its owner's discard pile and place 1 threat on the main scheme. So this is discarded, this is defeated. So yeah, you want to get rid of the side scheme first. Yeah. Okay, but then if you get rid of the side scheme, so you get rid of all the controlled minions, but this is still in play. Okay, this is a tricksy one. I like it. I like that it is... I like that it plays against what you're doing, but it still has a purpose against in multiplayer. He's going to be a little difficult to get rid of. I do think that the side scheme is going to be reasonably easy to get rid of. Even at 6... she reads like she can pretty easily get rid of threat. I don't know. This is... I mean, obviously this is only 3 cards, but this just reads like a very tight package. And it reads like a Nemesis kit that I don't want to mess with. This is... oh gosh, and especially because like she doesn't have an attack event. She has things that mimic that, but wow. I guess we'll get to the other cards in just a second here, but yeah, this seems like a brutal Nemesis kit. Just kind of my first response. And then we got 2 copies of 2 copies of Diabolical Discs. They are treacheries with Surge. When revealed, remove 1 all-purpose counter from a support. If controlled innocence is in play, put the top card of your deck into play face down. Engage with you as a minion. So I guess it's possible that you could get rid of controlled innocence. So they got to kind of design around that. And they give it Surge so that it's always going to do something. Yeah, I guess it just adds. I mean, adding more controlled minions, adding more to what it's doing. I like it. This is a Nemesis pack that reads pretty brutal. And maybe I'm overselling that, but it just reads pretty brutal. So I feel like my opinions of Maria Hill very much are that she reads like somebody's favorite hero and just not my favorite hero. But how about we take a step back and we will take a quick break, and then we will talk about Nick Fury. But yeah, overall, so I see the potential, just not a hero for me. All right, and here we are talking about Nick Fury. And all right, so Nick Fury comes with a Justice deck. Oh, I don't know why I said that Agent Coulson wasn't here in Quake. I don't know why. Clearly I've had a long day, because for some reason I said Justice, I still imagined Leadership. Don't know why. All right, the big boy. Better be good, because we can't play with the basic ally with this Nick Fury. I'm kind of the opinion that I think the Nick Fury basic ally is very good, but I don't assume that he's going to be in every deck I build. And so it affects me less. But let's look at him. I love that he's on a surfboard. Nick Fury, 4 recovery, alter ego with the Shield Soldier, that's important, and Spy trait, and Suit Up. Put your suit form upgrade into play, assault side face up, and then the infiltrate action of change to stealth suit form. Got 6 hand size, 10 hit points, so that is coming to play. You're going to have this suit in play. Let's talk about it right now. It is a tech item upgrade. It is suit form and permanent. And interrupt, when you attack, remove up to 3 threat from here. This attack deals... When you attack, deal 3 threat from here. This attack deals 1 additional damage for each threat removed this way. So you're going to start out, it's going to be in this form. You could flip it over while you're in alter ego. So we got his hero form. It is a 2/2/2 hero with shield, soldier, and spy. And gather intel. Response, after Nick Fury makes a basic thwart, place 1 threat on your suit form upgrade. So that would, you make a basic thwart, put a threat here. I like this design space. I don't remember every single aspect of his cards. I've probably seen more of them than I'll even remember, but I like the idea of placing threat onto this suit. Then break cover, forced interrupts, that's important. When you attack, change to assault suit form. Okay, so in your alter ego, which is, I'm guessing there's going to be other ways, but as of right now, as we're just going through this one card at a time, his alter ego is going to be able to switch him to stealth form. And after you make a basic thwart, place a threat on your... Okay, so... And when you attack, you'll change it from whatever form it's in to stealth. To assault. But in stealth form, the suit is still item, tech, permanent, all that stuff. Forced interrupt hero. When an enemy would attack you, it schemes instead. Place 1 threat from that activation here instead of the main scheme if there are 5 or less threat on this card. I happen to think that Nick Fury, like on the tin, seems like a really cool hero. I will say this also feels like a bit of an upkeep, and I bet that once you get it down, this is probably very simple and it all kind of works. The fact that this is a force interrupt, you have to change to this form, but oh gosh, okay. So when an enemy would attack you, it schemes instead. So if you're in stealth form, you're causing them to scheme, and you're minimizing the amount of threat being placed on the main scheme by 1 if you are managing your threat correctly. And once you attack, you break stealth and you go into assault form, where interrupt. Okay, so just trying to make sure that the timing window to me does not seem such that you activate this interrupt, you can apply this interrupt to the attack. Because I feel like you've already passed the interrupt window and that's not a thing anymore. But in the future, you do have the ability to sort of gambit it up and deal extra damage. Yeah, I guess we will see the other cards. As we sit here right now, I kind of look at it and I go, I know that both of these heroes are kind of beyond my playstyle, but I think Nick Fury speaks to me the most. I like what he's doing. I do think the fact that you've got a card you got to flip up like over and over again, it means you're probably going to place the threat off to the side here so that it's not, you're not trying to like remove some threat from something, flip over a card, put the threat back. And it's kind of just more of like the threat's going to be there in spirit. But I don't know, this is an interesting loop. It's not all kind of coming to me. I can see what it's supposed to do. But in terms of like how powerful I feel like all of this is, I'm sort of left a little bit like, I don't know. He could be very good. And I'm just, once again, underselling him. He could be a lot of work for nothing, and I'm overrating him. I'm not sure yet, but let's look at the rest of his cards, and we will kind of get that sorted out here. So we've got Maria Hill, his signature ally, 3-cost ally with 2 thwart, 1 attack, 3 health, shield traded, and when Maria Hill thwarts, place the removed threat on your suit form upgrade. So when she thwarts for 2, she's going to put that onto your upgrade. I like that. I like the ability to accelerate getting threat onto there. Makes it a lot easier to do a bunch of damage with what his suit can naturally do. Now that Sidekick exists, I ask myself, is this ally a good Sidekick ally? And I feel like the gut reaction is normally about 80% right. So in my mind, I feel like this is a cool card. And I feel like it is a card that I'd put Sidekick onto because I would want to keep this around. She does add a little bit of balancing. She does want you to be a little more aggressive and take that threat onto it and then deal some more damage to kind of keep yourself below a certain threshold. But she is also a way so that you can get more threat onto that upgrade without needing to be, because that only works in stealth, right? Yeah. Force interrupt. Yep. So she is a way for you to get threat onto the suit without needing to be in stealth form, which is cool. I think that's probably important. Oh boy. Then we've got concentrated fire. A 2-cost event, attack, hero action, deal 4 damage to an enemy. That attack gains ranged. If this attack defeats an enemy, choose to either place threat on your suit form upgrade equal to that enemy's printed scheme, or change to stealth suit form. Okay, so I guess when you break cover, this is a way to attack and then instantly go back into stealth form. I like that. Okay, so I guess the other thing is that this cares about 5 or less threat. This doesn't. So you could very well deal 4 damage to an enemy, get a bunch of threat based off of the scheme, and just perpetuate that. You can break the 5 limit. There is no limit when you're using cards like this. Yeah, this is a cool card. As well as you're also making an attack, so you can take stuff from your assault form and deal additional damage. This could deal 9, in a world. The upper limit is probably even higher than that, but this could deal 9 and be very good. I feel like I might be a little bit more on board with it because we didn't have an attack event with Maria Hill, so this is my first chance to really kind of like evaluate an attack event today. Cool card. I like it. Then we've got 3 copies of Covert Surveillance. 1-cost event. It is a thwart hero action. Remove 2 threat from a scheme. If you are in stealth suit form, you may place that threat onto your suit upgrade. Otherwise, you may change to stealth suit form. So I like the way that this is. I like us playing with the suit form. So I like the fact that you don't have to be an alter ego to get back into stealth suit form. You place that threat on. Yeah, this is just, it only costs 1. It's only removing 2 threat. But at the same time, it is feeding into what you can do with your assault suit. Yeah, this isn't the best card. Even in his own pack, I think it's thematic. It's going to help you do what you want to do. It's not the best card we've seen today, but I do think that it is helpful, and I think that it has a purpose, and I feel like it's going to do cool things. And that's kind of the rule of cool, isn't it? We got Spray Fire, 3-cost event, attack. Choose a player, deal 3 damage to the villain, and each minion engaged with that player. This attack gains ranged. So, going back to the assault suit. Yeah, okay, that's cool. So yep, you can just bump this up. It can be 3, 4, 5, whatever it is. Yeah, this is a powerful card. If you can align the assault suit with it to bump up that 3 damage to even more, and it's got range, so it gets around retaliate. Yeah, I mean, this is my favorite card out of his pack. I feel like I was more impressed with the concentrated fire, but this is probably very good. This is probably great to have and very synergistic with what he's trying to do. And I'm not seeing it as powerful as it might be, but yeah, I like it. Then we've got Fury's Flying Car. Of course we do. It is a 2-cost support. Aerial Tech Vehicle. Hero action. Exhaust Fury's Flying Car and remove 1 threat from your suit form upgrade. Ready Nick Fury. He gains the aerial trait until the end of the round. Where do I stand on this? I thinking about it in terms of adding the aerial trait, I think you're going to get use out of this. I think you could build towards the aerial trait. I'm just a little concerned that it's not going to be as reliable as Rocket or Nova or Thor, or even, I guess it's better than how Valkyrie gains aerial, but I question if this is where I want to be spending my suit threat. Cool card. Not sure if I would get the aerial out of it. It gives you a strong reason to, and it gives you a reliable place to do it. I guess if you have a way to get tech or a vehicle, then this you can build towards it more. But I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing how this would push me to want to play around the aerial trait as much as some of the other heroes I mentioned. Got Safe House 221. Location Shield. It is a 1-cost support. Alter Ego action. Exhaust Safe House 221. Choose to either heal 2 damage from Nick Fury or place 1 threat on your suit form upgrade. And his recovery is 4 of 10. Yeah, this isn't Aunt May, but I think it's close. I think it's a good similar card. In terms of what alter ego action kind of cards we see, this is not the worst. I'm not loving it though. You got EM Shield, a 2-cost upgrade. Preparation, knew we'd see those again. Tech trait, and has the interrupt defense when you would take any amount of damage from an attack. Discard EM Shield, prevent all that damage. So just kind of looking forward. Looking forward, this is kind of the substitution for the life model decoy, and ironically, this gains the defense trait, this doesn't, which is something to be noted of. But this is essentially the same thing as life model decoy, but this gains defense, so you can use that in a way that you can't use life model decoy out of Maria Hills. So yeah, I like it. I think that it is better than life model decoy simply by having the defense trait, because I can't think of any way that's a downside. Oh wait, okay, sorry. No, you're discarding them both, aren't you? Life model decoy you discard too. Yeah, this is a better version of life model decoy. Not much more to say about it. Yeah, I guess everything I said about life model decoy I would say about this. Seems cool, seems appropriate, and yeah, I like it. Eye patch camera. It is a 2-cost upgrade. Preparation tech. Hero interrupt. When any amount of threat would be placed on the main scheme, discard eye patch camera. Place up to 3 of that threat on your suit form upgrade instead. So yeah, this is just counterintelligence, but going a little bit further. I like counterintelligence. I'm trying to think if counterintelligence costs 3. I think it only costs 2. It's similar to a card that we know, but it does something that pushes the agenda of what this deck is trying to do. I like it. Got 2 copies of... Oh no, sorry. No, okay. I don't know why I thought that. I looked at those 2 cards and thought they were the same card. Okay. Got 1 copy of Intelligence Analysis, a 0-cost upgrade. Preparation skill. When you reveal a treachery, discard Intelligence Analysis and remove 1 threat from your suit upgrade. Cancel the effects of that treachery and discard it. So yeah, this just completely avoids it. You don't have to worry about any follow-up. I feel like this is in a similar boat to the flying car, but more applicable. You're going to have more chances to use this, I feel like, when you reveal a treachery. So I suppose in multiplayer, you could be the one not drawing the treacheries. Either way, I think that's nitpicking. I feel like this is going to find more use, but you are discarding. This is still good. I feel like anytime that you can say no to the encounter deck is good, and I feel like you're going to have 1 threat around. Yeah, this is fine. It's a fine card. I think it's probably a good card, but I like it. It's nothing to write home about, but I like it. Then we've got Fury's Watch. Get that right where it needs to be. 1-cost upgrade, item, tech, resource. Ooh, love that. It is unique. Additionally, exhaust Fury's Watch and remove 2 threat from your suit form upgrade. Remove up to 2 threat. Generate a mental resource for each threat you remove this way. This level of resource generation is the kind of thing that I would have liked to have seen from Maria. The card we talked about that generates the wild resources, like I said, I came around on it, realized it was better than I thought it was when I initially looked at it. But this being able to make a burst of resources, I think, helps to appropriately pay for bigger stuff. And quite honestly, Nick Fury does not have, like, this pays for basically everything in his kit by itself, short of Spray Fire and Maria Hill. So this, appropriately within this kit, feels good. It's the kind of burst resource that I wish Maria Hill got. And last card is Secret Agent, a 2-cost upgrade title, so they both get titles. Hero response: after you resolve the ability on a preparation card you control, move 1 threat from a scheme to your suit form upgrade. That seems good. Short of the first turn, this is always on. There's probably threat somewhere that you can be removing. I think that this makes me believe, because he's 2/2/2, right? Yeah, he's 2/2/2. This makes me believe that cards like this point to the fact that Nick Fury is going to be a very good card, or a very good hero outside of... He's going to be fantastic in Justice. But I think that he has the right cards in play to make it so that he can be in any aspect, and he can do a lot of what Justice is looking to do because he's able to play around with threat and move threat away, divert it from the main scheme, what have you. So yeah, I feel like this is not like the best card, but I feel like it just kind of sells me on the fact that Nick Fury is going to be able to do a lot of really good playing around with just threat, and he's gonna be Justice even though he's in aggression, or he's gonna be Justice even though he's in pool, what have you, whatever kind of jokes you're kind of playing. But let's look at his pre-constructed deck and just understand what's back, what's reprinted. We've already alluded to some of this. Let's just talk about both of these real quick. We've got Quake. We've got Quake, and we've got Agent Coulson have been reprinted. Quake is a 2-cost ally, 1 threat, 2 attack, 2 health, Avenger and Shield traded, and response: after a minion schemes, exhaust Quake, deal 2 damage to that minion. And then Agent Coulson is a 3-cost ally, 2 thwart, 1 attack, 3 health, shield, and spy traded. Response: after Agent Coulson enters play, search your deck and discard a pile for a preparation card and add it to your hand, shuffle your deck. So we've seen these cards before, and I can say that Quake is fine, but I feel like after a minion schemes do something, you can get use out of this. I feel like you're just not going to. I have wanted her to be good before, and she just isn't. Agent Coulson, I think, is fine. I think I want him to be defeated as quickly as possible, get shuffled back in and draw him again to give me a preparation. Let's see. With Nick Fury, we've got 3 preparations. So it's possible that in the rest of his deck there's more preparations, but I will say that Coulson is a card that in a deck with preparations, and they do have a couple aspect ones, but for like Natasha, for Black Widow, he's very good. I don't know if looking at Nick Fury, I feel like you're going to get use out of it. I just don't feel like it's as powerful, and that's fine. Not every reprint needs to be as good as it used to be, and quite frankly, if you don't have the Black Widow pack, you have a way to get... I'm almost certain he comes out of the Black Widow pack. I don't know why he wouldn't. You have a way to get him. You have an extra copy if you have a full collection. I mean, just to be honest, I think these 2 cards they read like 7s, but they're 5s. They're fine. They're not great. They're not horrible. They're just fine. I got 3 copies of Global Logistics, another reprint. It is a 0-cost event. Shield Tactic. Exhaust one shield card you control. Look at the top 4 cards of a player deck or the encounter deck. Discard any number of those cards and put the others back. Put the others on top and or bottom of the deck in any order. I think this is a very good card. In a deck that you are supporting yourself with shield stuff, this is a very good card. You only have to exhaust one, so like there's the basic support that deals damage when you play a shield card. That turns that into either damage or doing something to the top 4. I think the ability to look at your own deck, say, I don't need these cards, I'm going to push these 2 away. They're just going to go right to the discard pile. Maybe you have a way to recur them. Maybe you're like Magneto, you have a way to recur them. And then you say, this is a card I'd like to see, but I don't need next turn. You put it on the bottom, and you have a card that you put on top that you're like, I definitely need that next turn. This is, and then the same thing with the encounter deck. You can just say, these are weak cards that are not going to affect me. I know that this is going to be my boost card. This is going to be my counter card. These other cards, like, I guess you just get to know. This is, I think what makes this card very good to have around is just how flexible it is, just how much it can address things. I will say, if you're manipulating the player deck, you're kind of saying, what would I like to do next turn? And that's kind of the weaker point there. But overall, I think I'm finding holes in a card that I think is probably, my experience says this is very good. Especially my recent experience says this is a very good card, and you will get use out of it, especially in a box that's built around Shield. We've got 3 copies of Informant. See that lovely word of preparation on here. A 1 cost upgrade. 1 cost upgrade preparation, max 1 per player. Interrupt. When a minion schemes, discard Informant. This activation removes threat instead of placing it. Love that. Makes it so that I might want all 3 copies in here, because you're going to get use out of it every turn, potentially. And so you could drop 1, use it up, drop another one the next turn, use it up. I mean, it does care about a minion scheming, but if you're in the right deck, it doesn't even have to be scheming against you. It just needs to be your buddy goes into Ultra Ego, and suddenly you can take that minion and just help to basically balance whatever the villain was doing. I think this reads like a cool card. The path that's a preparation is even better, and it's a shame that we might not see a Black Widow hero after everything gets retired into Legacy, so new players coming in might not get to see how powerful this card could be, but in Black Widow, this seems amazing. This seems superb in Black Widow. And I suppose Nick Fury can definitely get use out of it too. We've got Intelligence, 3 copies of Intelligence. Love that. 1 cost preparation again. 1 cost upgrade preparation, max 1 per player. Response. After a player is dealt an encounter card, discard Intelligence. Look at each encounter card dealt to each player and the top card of the encounter deck. You may swap any number of those cards. Trying to think. I mean, if let's say you're playing 4 players, you're going to have to deal with 4 encounter cards regardless. But you can definitely set it up so that who can best handle these cards is going to be who's going to handle them. And if you happen to say that the top card of the encounter deck is something that you'd prefer to deal with, all the better. Yeah, I don't see anything bad about this, because you're never going to have to be completely disadvantaging yourself. If the top card is something you don't want to deal with, then you just know what the top card was. So yeah, I think this is a fine meat and potatoes card. And I bet it's going to win you games. Prism Dust. 3 copies of that. Again, max 1 per player. Preparation Tech. Love the amount of preparations we're seeing. Hero response. After a minion enters play, discard Prism Dust. Confuse that enemy, which I do know is a powerful thing to do in this campaign. And deal 2 damage to it. So this is similar to Lying in Wait, but you might not necessarily defeat the minion. You're not dealing as much damage, but it's considered an attack. So that means that Nick Fury can boost that damage. Yeah, this could just be get rid of a minion as it's entering play. This could also just be a way to have a minion enter play, you're in hero form, even say like a Master of Evil who's got like 5 or 6 health, you deal it down, you deal a pretty good amount of damage to it, you confuse it so that when you're an Ultra Ego, it just doesn't do anything. Yeah, this is not the best preparation I've ever seen, but there's not a lot of preparations anyway. I like it. I feel like the confuse part is kind of meta for this particular campaign, because I think they introduced a keyword that if a minion is confused, you just defeat it right then and there. So for this campaign, it seems even better. But yeah, overall, I like what it's trying to do, and I like the possibilities. Then we've got reprints, 3 copies of Under Surveillance. This is a good card. Recently, I talked about how it was going to possibly be lost to Legacy, and did not know this was getting reprinted. I think it won that poll too, if I remember correctly, which does kind of point to the fact that not everybody knows about any kind of like leaks or spoilers or anything. So I didn't know this card was getting reprinted until after. So someone in the comments said something, but this is a good card. It has a lot more play in single player, where adding it is an upgrade for 2. You can attach it to the main scheme, max 1 per scheme, and it increases the threat value, the max threat value of the main scheme by 4. Really good, because in single player, that might mean that you have possibly 4 extra turns, or it might just buy you 1 or 2 extra turns, depending on if the villain is scheming or not. But overall, this is a good card. It's a card you want. I'm happy that it's getting reprinted, because I think that it is the kind of card that so much of this game seems like it is built around multiplayer, and this is the kind of card that is so much stronger in solo. And I know there's a lot of people out there that probably play a lot of solo because they don't necessarily have somebody around. I play a lot of solo. It's 2-handed solo, but a lot of solo. This is a card that's good for that, and happy to have it around. One copy of Sky Destroyer. This is a good card. It is a 3-cost support. Sky Destroyer it has the shield and vehicle traits, and response: after you play a shield card, exhaust Sky Destroyer, deal 2 damage to an enemy. This is just nice because coming and going, whether it's an ally, a support, or what have you, this is going to just deal extra damage. It's going to break toughs. It's going to get those thin margins where you didn't defeat the first stage in time, you didn't defeat the last stage in time, whatever, because you had 2 more health left, and this just makes the difference. This can push you forward. It's going to deal 6 to 8 damage in a game, and just really good. I love it. I'm happy to see it's reprinted. Don't think that was on my poll, but either way, I think this is a good card. We've got Nick Fury Sr., a 4-cost ally with 2 thwart, 2 attack, shield and soldier traded, 3 health. Force response: after Nick Fury Sr. enters play, choose 1, remove 3 threat from a scheme, draw 2 cards, or give a shield character a tough status card. At the end of the round, if Nick Fury Sr. is still in play, discard him. So there's really no reason to give the tough status to himself, because he's just going to go away. But you can, build up Maria Hill, you can build up Natasha or Nick Fury himself, or just draw 2 cards or remove threat from the scheme. I mean, it's a different version of the Nick Fury from the core set, but at the same time, I think that it's okay if there's cards that are not nearly as good as core set. It's a shame that some of the best staples are in the core set, so it's both good that everyone's going to have access to them, but also kind of underwhelming that there couldn't be cards that are always around, so they're always the benchmark that you're going to have to rate other cards against. I like good cards. I want good cards to be in the game. I do see the value of limiting your play and saying that I'm going to give myself a handicap. I'm not going to play with the best cards. I'm going to limit myself to the core set and 4 packs, like the 4-pack challenge. Or, basically the entire idea of the current Legacy environment is that you might not necessarily have a full collection. the fact that Nick Fury is a core set card it just means that all allies, all basic allies, are going to need to be rated up against him, and it's unfortunate because I think he's a very powerful ally that kind of skews the results for other basic allies. But overall, I think this is a fine card. If you can't play with Nick Fury Jr. seems like an appropriate card to have in play. Super Spies, we already talked about it. I think that it's probably an okay card, but like I said, Reddit leads me to believe this is a very good card. And after looking at it, being able to add 3 threat to your suit form upgrade seems good. It seems great. And you know what the other thing is? Nick Fury is already, we just talked about how he's a staple. In leadership, the Maria Hill ally is also a staple. So it's very possible that you will be able to get use out of this, regardless of what heroes are actually at the table. Gemma Simmons. So we saw her earlier on the double icon or the double resource cards. She's a 3-cost support, Persona Shield. Reduce the cost to play Gemma Simmons by 2 if your identity has the shield trait. Okay, so she comes in for 1. Resource, exhaust Gemma Simmons and generate a genius resource for a tech card. I don't feel like he's had a lot of tech. 1, okay, that's already in play. It's a permanent 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so he has a reasonable amount, and quite honestly, I'm looking at this more as what can this do for Rocket? What can this do for Iron Man? I think what can this do for War Machine? I'm pretty sure he has. I feel like he's very event focused. But either way, I feel like this is going to be very good for other heroes, and this is okay for Nick Fury. I think this is going to do a lot of good for other heroes. I think there's other heroes out there that she's going to be a little overcosted for someone like Rocket, but she's a resource generator for Rocket, and I think that's kind of cool. Leo Fritz, a 3-cost support, Persona Shield. Reduce the cost by 2 if your identity has a shield trait. Ultra Ego action, exhaust Leo Fritz. Search your deck for a tech card and add to your hand. So yeah, these two are going to work in a nice combination. Obviously, you want to be in the shield trait to get the most use out of them, but frankly, if you have the side scheme that allows you to go get a support and you can go get this, and you can just make what you're doing in those other heroes I mentioned that care about tech. Similarly, like Ant-Man has his helmet. You want that helmet. I think this is going to be a role player in decks. Obviously, they're going to be the best in shield traded hero decks, but at the same time, I think that they're costed appropriately so that you can use that side scheme to go grab them, and they can be used in other heroes. Got the copies of Practice Plan, which I believe is a reprint. I'm almost certain it's a reprint, but it is a 0-cost upgrade, preparation, max 1 per player. Response: after you discard a preparation card, you control, discard Practice Plan, return that card to your hand from the discard pile. So this is just a nice way to have preparations, and the fact that he has identity-specific preparations is all the better, and just a nice way to recur them. I think you watch a Black Widow player enough and you realize just how good a card like this is. This is going to be fantastic. It costs 0, so I mean, this is a reprint, so we kind of already, anybody who's played with it already knows, but like if you have Black Widow, when you play a preparation, you get, while you're in Ultra Ego, you draw a card. So you can play this out and just you cycle it, you just put it out and you just replace it instantly. So yeah, I mean, for a deck with preparations, this is going to be very good. It's another preparation that has a max 1 per player that you could easily burn through, and yeah, just have a great time. And let's get down to his obligation. Discovered. Give to the Nick Fury player. When revealed, change to assault suit form, so you can't be in stealth form. If there is no threat on your suit form upgrade, this card gains surge. Otherwise, choose to either take 1 damage for each threat on your upgrade, or remove each threat from your suit upgrade. In either case, discard this card. Okay, so it's going to deal with itself. Choose to either take 1 damage for each threat on your suit or remove each threat. I mean, it gives you a meaningful choice. And it's not going away. So I'm not overly concerned, but I can definitely see how this is going to this is going to be very similar to Spider-Ham running into the Green Gobbler. Like, this is just going to mess up with what you're trying to do. But it's very focused on just Nick Fury. So overall, not too concerned, but I can see how this is. I'm not too concerned because I feel like the option it's giving you means that hopefully you can not get completely sidewinded. You don't have to take a bunch of damage. You don't have to lose all the threat. You take whatever decision, obviously, you take whatever decision is going to do the least amount of backpedaling for you and go from there. Orion, and let's give the side scheme additionally. Orion is a minion with 2 scheme, 2 attack, 6 health, Leviathan traded. Toughness, Orion can have any number of tough status counters, the tough status cards. Force response, after Orion takes any amount of damage, give him a tough status card. So you've got to break the tough, and then you've got to basically try to deal 6 damage to him instantly. That's interesting. I kind of half knew this from critical encounters, but my mind just wanders. Acquire Infinity Formula. And the Infinity Formula is how Nick Fury, and I think Nick Fury Jr., are able to be so kind of super soldier adjacent. Force response, after Nick Fury takes any amount of damage, give Orion a tough status card. If Orion is not in play, find him and put him into play, engage with the Nick Fury player. And you're gonna dial up the amount of boost icons. So I would want to get rid of this very quickly because I do not want to give Orion additional tough status counters, and I do not want to defeat Orion and then just have him come back immediately. 2/2/2, 6 health. I think he's going to be a bit of a speed bump. Time will tell, but he feels like this is a pretty strong 1-2 punch. Then we've got 2 copies of Leviathan Soldier. 0 scheme, 2 attack, 4 health, Leviathan traded. They also have toughness. After Leviathan Soldier schemes, deal 1 damage to the engaged in player's identity. So there's just nowhere to hide. You go into Alter Ego, and you're still taking damage. So yeah, Nick Fury has got to look out. He's got a reasonable amount of health, but the reason why you're going to Alter Ego is probably because your health is low. I think in contrast to Maria Hill, I could see Nick Fury wanting to hang out in hero form as much as possible. So you might want to be going Alter Ego because your health is low, and these are gonna kind of push back on that a little bit. Not to mention they have toughness. They seem easy to kill though. Once you break the tough, they seem easy to kill. And last card for the day is Cold Storage, a treachery with, when revealed, search the encounter deck, discard pile for a Leviathan minion and put it into play, engage with you. Shuffle, otherwise take 2 damage. So if all the Leviathan soldiers, or if all the Leviathan characters are in play, you're taking 2 damage. Boost icon, deal 1 damage, or take 1 damage. Yeah, I feel, like the Leviathan soldiers are no joke. But I would definitely want to find them over Orion. This is a Nemesis kit that I think is very well designed. It feels like it's going to hurt, and that's kind of what I would like a Nemesis pack to do. So yeah, overall, I like Nick Fury. I think I maintain. I think I maintain that I like him more than Maria Hill. Again, that's not any disservice to Maria Hill. I think that if you like Maria Hill, all power to you. You might not like Nick Fury. I think out of these two, I like Nick Fury more. Very similar to the fact that I love Domino, and I'm kind of so-so on Cable, but I know there's people out there that love Cable and think he might be the best character in the game. To each their own. I'm really impressed. I think both these heroes are cool. They may not be my playstyle, but I still think they have merit, and I look forward to having a chance to play with them. I think I will probably take their pre-constructed decks and maybe do some games with them, maybe record them. I'm not trying. I guess I don't want. I don't intend to turn everything I do into content, but maybe there's content to be had there. Either way, what are your thoughts? Do you like Maria Hill? Do you like Nick Fury? Which of them speaks to you the most? Are you excited for this box? Are you skipping the box? Do you have any interest in the other villains? But tell me in the comments. But until next time, I thank you for your time and have a great day.